What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And we have fallen out of another season of Fallout, as this is the season finale, season 2, episode 8. That's the best I've got in terms of a good gag at the beginning. So subscribe as I continue to pretend to be a comedian from time to time, while also giving you reviews. This is what I'm like in real life. Maybe this is why I'm sitting here in this chair by myself. So, Fallout, Season 2, Episode 8. Oh my god. So, we learned a lot in this episode, even though somehow it felt like we didn't quite get the epic finale that it was building to. It still feels like it's building to something, and not quite sure what. But, where to start? Where to start? Um, so first of all, the audio description team on this has done an excellent job all season long. So shout out to Point 360. There's been a couple of times where the audio description hasn't delivered on the first strike, but then it's something that comes along later and you get better description, sort of like the Death Claw. I feel like the first time we got the introduction of the Death Claw, it wasn't well described, and there was a lot of question about like, well, how big is it? And then like in a later episode, then you get a little bit more size relativity and stuff like that coming into it. So um, I kind of was hoping a little bit more of that would come with the mutant that we ran into, but we have not seen them again. But there's a lot to describe here, and often um, that's sort of the benefit and also the the cost of doing a science fiction fantasy program of any nature is the fact that there's so much to describe, but sometimes it's hard managing how to do it and how to do it well and how much of it to do. So it can sometimes feel like something was missed, but there's just so much robust opportunity as opposed to, something that's current. It has very limited locations or repetitive locations. It's something simple where it's just like an apartment. It's a place where it's not terribly interesting, and we're not looking for a ton of description of what a modern day apartment would look like with people wearing a lot of modern day clothes if the show is not putting emphasis on modern clothes, because it's kind of like what our wardrobes might be like. There are plenty of programs that are like that, both in film and television. So then you have to focus a little bit more on something else. You have to figure out what is the point of the description. But with sci-fi fantasy, it's so broad, and you have to support the actors while doing it. So it's a much taller order, I think. Anyway, the final frontier of Fallout, Norm uh, survives? Question mark. Um, it looks like he's not going to, because they come back in the room and they attack him, and he's with the one girl that's sympathetic to him, whose name I forgot, but I think she survived for season 3, so it's possible we'll see more of her and get to enjoy her. You know what we didn't do? I don't think we really went back to the original Vaulters. The Snack Squad. I don't remember them. If we did, it was very brief, and their storyline just did not matter a whole hell of a lot. So Norm's is sort of like the easiest to get through because while they're fighting, this one girl, her head gets knocked back into the controls for the elevator, which causes the elevator shaft door to open, and then they become scared of what might be in it, and it's empty, and there's a girl standing there, and she's like, "Huh, the bad roaches must not want so bad." She becomes like Samuel L. Jackson in Deep Blue Sea mid speech when a rad roach rips through her throat. Like, bye, bye, random extra. And then a whole bunch of rad roaches flood the room and go after the guys who were controlling Norm, and Norm hides behind a chair and he also tries to escape, and so everybody's fighting the rat roaches. A couple of the a lot of people die. A couple of the more named guys who are sort of minor, but they live. They manage to escape from the room, and Norm finds that the girl that was helping him seems to be alive. She somehow was hidden under a dead rat roach, and helps her out. So that's Norm's storyline. I don't know where he's going to come into play in the next thing, but we'll see. Stephanie, meanwhile, ends up coming into a big part of the play right toward the end, because we got to see a lot of her last episode about her being Canadian. She's 200 years old, all that kind of stuff. So her wedding reveal, the people are still banging down her door, but they can't actually get in because it's a vault. So good, she lucked out. Um, the thing that she asked for from Betty was this box that Hank had, and it was a Pip-Boy, and she uses it to communicate with the outside world. And she says who she is. She says she's Stephanie, that she's Hank's wife, and that she's not 100% sure how this works, but that Hank always told her somebody was listening. And she said, if you're out there, enter phase 2. So, and it kind of shows that her announcement like echoing all over the place and triggering something that is obviously going to be revealed in greater depth in season 3. We do get a little tag at the end. If you stay through credits, it shows you all the knights that are trying to like rally back together, the knights that Maximus left behind. I don't remember us going back to Thaddeus. Maximus spends most of the episode fighting off the Deathclaw and eventually winning and being exhausted. They play it like he might die because he's really getting pummeled, and he also flashes back to like his childhood. So we see that, but now he survives because he reunites with Lucy at the end. Um, and yeah, there's really not much to his thing. He's just fighting a Deathclaw. Um, who else? Who would be next? I guess I'm just down to the Ghoul and Lucy's storylines, because Lucy's sort of merges with Hank, and I don't know whose is more important to do last, because they're both sort of they kind of all come together. So the Ghoul is talking to the wealthy Las Vegas guy who has, I guess, uploaded his conscious to the cloud. I don't know. So, so he's talking to him, and they come to an agreement about the understanding of all of this. And he says, you always misunderstood me. I didn't want it. But there are people who are worse than me. You thought I was bad, but actually I was trying to keep it away from people who are looking to do things that are far worse. You think it's about the vaults. It's actually about what's on the surface. So, the Ghoul ends up with a Pip-Boy so that he can carry this rich dude around, his voice on his wrist, as he gets navigated back into the vault, so he can rescue his wife and kid. He ends up meeting Lucy at the absolute right time and assisting her. I'll come back to that. We'll come back to it. He does eventually find his wife and daughter. We have some flashbacks where we see him with his wife, Cooper, human Cooper. And he's just happy. He's like, for the first time in 200 years, I know my family is alive. Is that a good Walton Goggins impression? uh, so, and then really Lucy's big thing is the fact that she found this head that has been hooked up to the machines, and she doesn't even understand it. Luckily, though, Hank got out of his handcuff restraint thanks to the fact that I guess he controls everything in the vault. And Lucy's unwillingness to kill anything. Um, Even this head is like, kill me, kill me. And she won't do it. He's like, why does everybody want me to kill them? Um, I'm like, I said, she's, it got a little bit much because she's like, well, with science, we might be able to fix you. I'm like, it's a decapitated head, Lucy. I don't, what do you want from it? What fixing do you think? Anyway, um, yeah, so Hank explains, and the way that I took it is it's that elected senator from back in the flashbacks, and they used her brain to give these all of the people that Hank is controlling this serene personality. And Hank reveals that ultimately the plan is to make the box so small that you don't even really see it, and it'd just be like a little incision at the back of your neck, and the box would be in there. And he said that he had already sent his minions off into the world to do this. That things are already happening. That he had already. I don't know how he managed to do all of this. We didn't really get it explained because he hasn't had that much time from the beginning when he was still exploding heads to create an army of people, then also to shrink the boxes and all that kind of stuff. The stuff that he's trying to say that he's done, suggesting that like there are more people in the world, would have needed to happen a long time ago before people went into the vault. But then he would have had the technology perfected, so he wouldn't have been exploding heads the whole time. So I don't really understand where they were going with this. This is where the writing kind of lost me, and I could have used a little bit more explanation. Was in Hank's reasoning behind, his devious plans for the future, and he's like, my job's a little complicated, and I'm like, yeah, and explain more, please, because it feels like you worked yourself into a loop that doesn't make any sense. But the ghoul ends up killing the Legionnaire who is there defending Hank, and ends up giving Lucy a gun after shooting her dad in the ass, and giving her and says, "If it were up to me, you'd be dead, but it ain't up to me." And he looks at Lucy and says, like, it's your father. You get to choose. So she ends up not killing him, even though she was about to have a little box inserted on her because Hank wanted to make her daddy's little girl again. What a sadistic motherfucker. And the funny thing is that, and it kind of like, there are choices that were made in the finale that made me like characters less. So this was all fine. I did want him to explain it more, but then the emotional payoff just doesn't work for me. Um, you know, she walks out with him at the end, like um, she's going to take him back home and do the thing, right? And then he tells her about this like future and everything in this world, and the plans and all that kind of stuff. It just kind of like reiterates vaguely about what might be coming for the audience in season 3. And then he's like, "We're not going home, are we?" And he mentioned something about, he's like, I wanted to go and see Norm and Stephanie. Oh, Stephanie. um, so, and he's like, "But we're not going home, are we?" I'm like, are you suggesting that Lucy was going to kill you? Because then the payoff that follows doesn't exist. So he uses, it's mentioned that he has a little incision at the back of his neck, like he did the surgery to himself, and so he does a little dial and then wipes his own memory with, I guess, a small box that he put on himself in case. So he gave himself like instant dementia, so that nobody can ask him questions, I guess, so he wouldn't be forced to reveal anything. But it's like, So then she goes up to him and she like hugs him and like cries on his shoulder, realizing that the father that she knew was gone. But I'm like, he A was just about to do that exact same thing to you, and B, he basically insinuated that you were going to kill him and you didn't correct him. So I think we needed to add a line for Lucy where she reiterated her intentions were to take him home for justice. You know, Lucy's continued altruism needed to shine through in that moment, and they forgot that line. They forgot to add that line. So I didn't really buy the whole her standing there with Hank holding him, and he's kind of just empty at that point. He like looks down at her and he's like, "You have something on your face. Let me wipe it off." And then he like, it's like all he does. So I guess Hank has neutralized his character, although now he's something that can be controlled. So I don't know. And he does have he had a little box in his pocket that I guess it controlled him. So I assume that Lucy could feasibly control him next season if she wanted to. She could take the box. Don't know why not. But then she reunites with Maximus at the end, and we also get to see flashbacks suggesting that, of course, this all the bad shit that happened was because Coop trusted the president instead of the old guy from Vegas. So he was supposed to. And there's also we do cut over to the fighting between the Legionnaires where they were trying to figure out who the Kaiser was. I love they can't pronounce the word Caesar. Um, and the little gag, they're like, and we shall build a new palace for us, a Kaiser's palace. And I'm like, okay, I get it, I get the joke. Thank you. You made a Caesar's Palace reference. Thank you. And yeah, cool. But there's all of this bloodshed and everything, and to get down to the body, it has the note about who the next Kaiser will be. And the note says, "I am the last Kaiser. There should be none after me," or something like that. And I'm the final Kaiser. And the guy that reads the note ends up eating it and then telling everybody that he was a Kaiser. So there's a new. He puts a wreath on and he reunites the clans and they end up following him. And to what, I don't know. The guy seemed kind of wimpy. They cast an actor who sounded like I don't know, like not there wasn't a lot there. I didn't buy him as being like a battle worn person. You know, felt like Sheldon Cooper was just given an army. So we'll see how that goes for them. Um, anyway, Fallout. I've I've enjoyed the season. Season one to season two. That's tough as to what I think it's. They're pretty even. I really liked season one and I really liked season two. I think they both sort of had strong moments and some weak moments. But overall, they're strong series that I look forward to another season of. I don't feel like Fallout Season 2 necessarily caused a massive precipitous drop, but I also don't think it rose to the occasion and surpassed Season 1. Sometimes you get an excellent second season, or even a third season, where you build to something and you finally have built to something for so long that it makes sense. Season 2 still feels like it's setting up something even grander, and therefore in season two was holding back a little bit and was still a lot of setup for what's to come, um, which is in some regards kind of sad because there was like a whole Fallout New Vegas game, which I'm sure they mined for content, but at the same time, was it enough? Did we get enough out of the game? I think they're still sort of creating new and original ideas. But overall, for Fallout, uh, I do like the show. So I guess if I had to grade it from my tomato meter now that because I wasn't going episode by episode by episode, I'm very optimistic about a third season. I'm very looking forward to a third season. But at the same time, while I would say Fallout is one of my favorite shows, I would not say it is my favorite. I would not put it in the top 10 of any given year. So I'm gonna go with like an 8.3 out of 10. I really liked Fallout Season 2. I don't think it like transcended, but I would definitely recommend it. Like every once in a while you watch something, you're like, oh my god, this wasn't that for me, but this was pretty consistent. There were a couple times where I was like, I don't know about that. But there were times also to balance that where I was like, ooh, that's good. Um, there were times where I just wanted more explanation. So both in terms of audio description and within the series itself, like Thaddeus, like why is he falling apart? Because and the ghoul looks at him like he knows something, but he never wanted to say anything. Because we've seen the ghoul, right? And we see what happens to him as he was starting to go feral before the mutant rescued him. And we've seen other feral ghouls, but their shit wasn't falling off of them. Like their arms weren't falling off. So what is making Thaddeus different? Like why is he losing an arm? And the fact that that was never answered or specified was bizarre. The fact that we didn't go back to that, the fact that it was never, he couldn't even bother to turn around and be like, by the way, you might want to take a little hit of this thing that I keep hitting is what keeps me preserved. Like nothing. He just there was no explanation. And then for the audience's sake, because the only ghoul that we've ever spent time with is him, and then the only other ghouls we've seen are feral, their arms aren't falling off. So it feels like he's on his like new thing, like he's got some sort of secret ghoul virus that we just never address. Anyway, which makes you wonder what about those kids? Because there were a whole bunch of little ghoul children. They seemed fine. Anyway, um, yeah. So I'll be back for season 3. I recapped season 1. I've recapped season 2. Amazon's definitely going to do a season 3. So yeah, I'll be back for that. Until then, keep watching my other recaps. I'm actively doing what am I doing right now? American Idol, The Traitors, a night in a Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I did the first 4 Bridgertons. Yeah, so stay with me, and I'll see you guys on the other side.